The Zorthian Empire had ruled the stars for over 1,000 years. Their fleet stretched across 5 galaxies. Their technology was powerful, and their army was vast. When scouts reported a new human colony on Lorvanus' Prime, the High Command didn't see it as a threat. "Send a message," Admiral Victor ordered. Standing tall on the bridge of the Zed's Dominion, the largest warship in their fleet, "Let them know the Zorathian Empire claims this planet. If they refuse, remove them." 10,000 ships surrounded Lorvanus Prime. Bright lights of Zorathian engines filled the dark space like a sea of stars. Their weapons were ready. They expected no resistance. Humans had only 100 ships in orbit. 100 against 10,000 to the Zorathians, it was a joke. "We will give them one chance," Vector said. "Then we strike." A signal came in from the human fleet. On the screen appeared a calm Terran officer. His face showed no fear. "This colony belongs to Earth," he said. "Turn back," Victor laughed. "You are outnumbered." "You will be." Destroyed, the human didn't blink. "Don't know what you've started?" The signal cut. The bridge of the ZES Dominion went quiet for a moment. Then the Admiral gave the order. "Fire." Thousands of alien cannons lit up. Beams of energy and missiles flew toward the human fleet. And then something strange happened. The first wave of Zorathian missiles exploded before reaching their targets. Human ships released clouds of smart, dust-tiny machines that jammed sensors and confused guidance systems. Then came the human counterattack. A single Terran frigate zipped through the enemy lines. It moved fast, faster than expected, crashed into a Zorathian battleship. A flash of light. Both ships vanished in a controlled explosion. Suicide attack. One officer gasped. "No, no. Calculated sacrifice," another whispered. The humans weren't running. They weren't surrendering. They were fighting back, in a way no alien had ever seen. Within the first hour, 237 Zorathian ships were destroyed. Victor stared at the battlefield. How are they doing this? Human ships didn't follow patterns. They didn't stay in formations. They moved like hunters fast, wild, impossible to predict. Terran warships used strange weapons. One human cruiser fired a pulse that disabled for Zorathian ships without even damaging them. Another dropped an EMP mine in the middle of a supply fleet, cutting power to dozens of vessels. The Zorathians had the numbers, but the humans had something else. Adaptability, courage, and the will. To fight down on Lorvanus' Prime, the colony had not evacuated. Instead, they prepared for war. Men and women, civilians and soldiers worked together. Defense guns were set up, tunnels were dug, supplies were shared. There were no panicked screams, only quiet determination. A Zorathian scout drone flew over. A colony building recorded a strange sight: human children helping to carry crates of ammo. Farmers handing rifles to soldiers. Engineers turning tractors into armored vehicles. "They are not running," Vector said, watching the feed. "They are preparing to fight to the last." The Admiral was silent for a long moment. "I have never seen such a species." On the far edge of the battlefield, a new ship appeared. A Terran dreadnought. It was old, covered in scars. Weapons glowed with power. It flew straight into a cluster of Zorathian ships, firing in every direction. It didn't dodge. It didn't run. It charged. The dreadnought was destroyed, but not before it took down 27 enemy ships. A silence fell over the Zorathian bridge again. For the first time, Admiral Vecto felt something cold in his chest. Fear. He looked at the data. 10,000 ships had come. Already, nearly 1,000 were gone, and the humans. They had only begun. Admiral Vector stood in silence as another red warning flashed on the screen. "Another squadron lost," his officer reported. 30 ships gone. Ambushed again. The Admiral's long fingers clenched the edge of the console. This wasn't war, as the Zorathians knew it. This was something else. Humans didn't fight clean or by standard rules. They didn't line up. They didn't wait. They struck from strange angles, vanished, and struck again, in one corner of the battlefield. A Zorathian cruiser chased what looked like a damaged human shuttle. When they got close, The shuttle exploded, releasing dozens of small drones that tore through the cruiser's engines. They used traps. Even with their own ships, whispered one of Vector's staff. They use their minds, he answered. Softly. Not just their machines. The humans called it chaos warfare. Every human ship acted on its own. Yet somehow, they worked together. Every time the Zorithians adjusted their tactics, the humans changed again. It was like fighting ghosts in the middle of the battlefield. A group of human corvettes broke formation and flew straight into the heart of the Zorithian Second Fleet. Intercept. Them, shouted a captain. Dozens of alien ships closed in, but suddenly the corvettes split in different directions, releasing flares and jamming pulses. Confused, the Zorithians collided with each other. Before they could recover, a hidden Terran cruiser decloaked and opened fire. In under 3 minutes, 10 Zorithian warships were gone. On board the TNS Valor, Commander Lynn Reyes watched the battle unfold with sharp eyes. They're still chasing in lines, she said. That's their weakness. She tapped her screen. Sending new commands to nearby Terran units, break them apart, strike where they gather, never fight them where they expect. Meanwhile, on Lorvanus Prime, ground war had begun. Zorithian drop pods rained from the sky, landing outside the human colony. Their soldiers stepped out in bright armor, confident. They expected fear. What they found was fire. Human snipers. Waited in the trees. Traps exploded under alien feet. Makeshift tanks, built from farm vehicles and steel plates, roared through the fields. The colony wasn't running. It was fighting back, and leading the defense was an old man named Colonel James Harlan. He had gray hair, one cybernetic arm, and a voice like gravel. He stood in the middle of the colony square, giving orders without panic. We hold the line, he said. If we fall, Earth falls next. Behind him, volunteers, farmers, mechanics, teachers took up arms. A young woman handed out rifles. With steady hands, a child passed grenades to a soldier without fear. Everyone had a role. Everyone stood in orbit. The Zorithian flagship trembled as a sudden explosion shook the hull. Vactor turned. What now? Another human trick, his? Officer said. They hid explosives in their own wreckage. When our ships came close for scanning, they detonated. The Admiral's eye twitched. This is not battle. This is madness. No, sir, the officer replied quietly. This is how they survive. Another report came in, humans. We're using a strange code to coordinate. The Zorithians couldn't break it. Then they discovered the truth. The code wasn't a code. It was music. Terran ships played old Earth songs across short-range channels. Beats, rhythms, and lyrics, they timed their attacks to the music. It made no sense. And yet it worked. They fight with music, Vector said. Stunned. Double quotes. No, they fight with soul. The ship's data officer answered. By the end of the second day, the numbers were still in Zorathian favor. But morale was not. The humans had lost fewer ships than expected. And every loss had been costly for the invaders. Vector looked at the star map. Human fleet, small and scattered, was bleeding his great armada, one piece at a time. How can they do this? He asked. A voice answered from behind. They fight like they have nowhere else to go. It was his second in command. Her voice was quiet. Her eyes were heavy. They fight like losing means extinction. We fight to conquer. They fight to survive. At night, the stars around Lorvanus Prime burned with debris and broken ships. The Zorithians still had the numbers, but now, they knew. Numbers were not enough. Not against the humans. Admiral Vector sat in his private chamber aboard the Z's Dominion, eyes locked on the screen. Lines of human history scrolled down, translated by the fleet's fastest language. A is. What he read sent a cold feeling through his chest. Earth was a death world, not just a harsh world, but a place where life itself had to fight every day just to exist. Earth had freezing mountains, burning deserts, storms that could swallow cities, and predators that hunted their own kind. And yet the humans survived, not just survived, thrived. They built nations. Then they destroyed them. And they built again, stronger than before. They had fought wars against themselves, wars that wiped out millions. And still, they never stopped growing. Now they had taken those same skills, their experience, pain, and struggle, and turned them into weapons among the stars. Inside the war room, Victor S. officers watched footage of Earth's past battles, world wars, nuclear threats, global plagues. Earth had faced extinction more than once, but each time, humans had adapted. They trained themselves through disaster, said the science officer. It is no wonder they fight without fear. Another officer stepped forward. And look at this. She pulled up footage from a live battle near Lorvanus. A new human unit had landed. They weren't like normal soldiers. They moved faster, hit harder, and didn't speak. Zorathian troops called them ghosts in armor. These were Earth's secret. Soldiers-dread hunters, clad in thick power suits and guided by artificial intelligence. They walked through explosions without slowing down. One was seen pulling open a Zorathian tank with bare hands. Even when shot, they kept moving. Are they machines? Asked a young officer. No, Victor replied. They are enhanced humans. Meanwhile, on the surface of Lorvanus Prime, Colonel Harlan led the defense lines. His coat was torn. Dust covered his face, but his voice was strong. Reinforcements are coming, he said to his soldiers. But until they arrive, we hold. He pointed to the broken walls of the colony. Right here. This is where Earth stands. All around him, fighters old and young, trained and untrained, stood with weapons ready. Even the injured refused to leave. A mechanic with a broken leg sat by the gate, rewiring defense turrets with shaking hands. A teenage girl flew a drone packed with explosives into an enemy walker. No one was giving up, far above. A strange silence settled in the Zorathian command ship. The Admiral looked at the casualty numbers. Nearly 2,000 ships lost. Thousands more damaged, and only a fraction of the human fleet was destroyed. They had expected the humans to run. Instead, they had met monsters wearing human skin, not because they were cruel, but because they came from a world that had never shown them mercy. Then came a new message. From Earth itself, a simple audio file. It played an old human voice, firm, calm, and powerful. If you seek to test us, know this. We have already faced extinction. We were forged by fire. We do not break. We are the children of Earth, and we are coming. The message ended. No threats. No begging. Just truth. Victor turned away from the screen. They don't fight for glory, he whispered. They fight because it is who they are. Night. Another Terran ship arrived. This one strange and dark, shaped like a blade. It didn't attack. It didn't broadcast anything. It simply floated above Lorvanus, scanning silently. Zorathian sensors couldn't read it. Its name didn't match any record, but its presence caused unease. Some said it was a Black Ops ship. Others said it was Earth's final warning. Even Victor didn't know what it was, but he felt it, a warning in his chest, a warning in his blood. He gathered his officers for a final briefing. We came to conquer, he said, voice low. We believed strength came from numbers, from power. But strength also comes from pain, from struggle. He looked around the room. The humans have walked through fire. They brought that fire with them. Stared at the screen once more, and deep inside, he began to wonder. Had they already lost? The Zorathian fleet hovered over Lorvanus Prime, a sea of warships ready to crush the stubborn humans beneath their might. Yet after days of battle, something unexpected happened. The colony still stood.
More than that.
The humans were not. Asking for mercy. They were preparing for the next fight. Admiral Vector paced the bridge of the Zed's Dominion. His confidence was gone. His officers looked worried, many avoiding his eyes. The human spirit was stronger than any weapon. Commander, Vector said to his second-in-command, send a demand for surrender. Tell them to give up now, or we will destroy the planet. The message was sent. The Zorathians expected a quick response, a plea for mercy. Instead, the reply came after only minutes. We will never surrender, the human voice said calmly. We fight because we must. Come if you dare. The bridge fell silent. Victor's fingers tightened into fists. This will end tonight, he said. Below, on Lorvanus, Colonel Harlan gathered his people. We face a final test, he told them. If they want to end this war, they will. Fire their biggest weapon. The colony held its breath. Then, from the far edge of space, a new ship appeared. It was unlike any vessel the Zorthians had ever seen, massive and silent, covered in dark armor plates that absorbed light. This was the TNS Requiem. The ship moved slowly, but with purpose, carried no flags, no loud announcements. It simply took its place between the planet and the enemy fleet. Inside the Requiem, Captain Lynn Reyes stared at the controls. Her voice was steady. This ship is not here to negotiate, she said, and it is here to end the fight. Not a Requiem's weapon. Was unlike anything the galaxy had seen, a neutron wave pulse. When fired, it sent invisible energy waves that disabled enemy shields and melted the metal of their ships. As the pulse spread, Zorthian ships screamed silently, their defenses failing one by one. Admiral Victor's fleet scrambled to react, but nothing worked. The neutron pulse passed through them like a ghost, breaking shields and frying circuits. One by one, mighty warships began to explode, torn apart from within. Vector watched helplessly as his fleet shattered. No weapon can stop this, his chief engineer said, voice trembling. It is like their ship is alive. It's desperate. Victor ordered a retreat. The remaining ships scattered, fleeing toward safety, but the humans did not give chase. The Requiem lowered its weapons and held position. A message came from Earth. Do not come again. The words were simple and clear. Victor stared at the message. The war was over. He had lost everything. Back on Lorvanus, the colony erupted in cheers. Humans hugged, cried, and laughed. They had survived. They had won. Colonel Harlan wiped sweat from his brow. This is not just a battle, he said. It is a lesson. We fight because we refuse to lose. Victor, aboard his last remaining ship, stared at the stars. He thought of his empire, of pride, of power, and he understood. The humans were not like any enemy he had faced. They were warriors, born of fire and hardship, and they had shown the galaxy that numbers do not win wars. The silence that followed the battle was heavy. Admiral Victor sat alone in the command room of his crippled ship. The stars outside shone cold and distant, as if they were watching his defeat without pity. He was the last of the Zorthian fleet. That had come to Lorvanus Prime. 10,000 ships had entered the system. Now, only a handful remained. The great empire that once seemed unstoppable was broken. Vector stared at the message sent to the Zorthian. High Counselor report that would shame them forever. We outnumbered them 100 to 1, he read. Aloud, voice low and bitter, and still we lost everything. The council chamber was cold and quiet. The great leaders of the Zorthian Empire looked at the Admiral, their faces unreadable. Vector could see the shock and fear behind their calm eyes. One elder spoke slowly. How could this happen? Our fleet was unmatched, Vector answered, because we fought humans. He took a breath. They are not like other species. Their strength comes not from numbers or weapons alone. It comes from their will to survive. They've lived through death again and again. Their planet is a crucible that has shaped them into warriors unlike any we have known. He paused, then continued. They fight not to conquer. They fight because they will not accept defeat. We thought we were the masters of war, but they taught us a different lesson. The council fell silent. Victor knew the truth was hard too, except he had seen the humans up close, their courage, their fierce loyalty to one another. The way they used every tool, every trick, every ounce of strength to hold their ground. Back on Lorvanus Prime, the human colony was rebuilding. Colonel Harlan walked through the damaged streets. The fight had left scars, but so had their hope. War changes everything, he told his people. But it also shows what we are made of. He looked up at the stars. Earth will not send armies to conquer. We fight to protect what we love. Far. From Lorvanus, the Terran High Command received Vector's message. their leader. Admiral Reyes stood before the council. "We didn't send fleets to conquer," she said. "We sent a message that Earth will defend its own, that we will not bow to any threat." She turned to her officers. "But we must remain vigilant. The galaxy is wide, and not all will welcome us." Her voice was calm but strong. "We fight not because we want war, but because we refuse to lose." In the years that followed, the story of the battle at Lorvanus Prime spread across the stars. Aliens whispered the name of Earth with respect and fear. The humans, children of a harsh world, had proven one simple truth: no matter how many enemies come, no matter how great the odds, they would fight and they would win. Admiral Vector lived the rest of his days in exile, haunted by memories of the war, but even in defeat he remembered the lesson well. He had met warriors born of fire, and he had learned that true strength was not measured by numbers, but by heart.